Radio. This is Kickstart. My name is Gardy. I'm going to kick this on the FM. We're going to be talking to Dr. Aaron Chapa with Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center. Today, we're going to have some fun. Here we go. Good morning. This is KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM. I have Dr. Aaron Chapa with Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center in studio. Dr. Chapa, how are you doing today? Good morning.
Great, Gardy. Great to see your smiling face. Hope all is well in your world. What's been up in your life these days?
Man, there's a lot going on, Dr. Chapa. It's been nonstop, but things are going very well.
That's good. I tell you, it's I hear that story quite a bit from people these days that it is nonstop. Somebody came in yesterday and goes, "Is it almost October?" And I'm like, it is. We are definitely well on our way. And it's definitely one of those, seasons of life where things seem to be speeding up, so much so that we aren't really paying attention to what our bodies are telling us. And, I remember a long time ago, I went to a seminar called Reading the Signs. And so I thought about just kind of rehashing some of that your body is continually communicating a message that you might be deficient in nutrition. You might be deficient in vitamins, minerals, essential fatty acids. And at Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, we want to be your number one health and wellness resource. We want to teach you how to live better, stay better, be better, live your best life. And that happens whenever we're not in a state of deficiency. If we are deficient in vitamins, minerals, essential fatty acids, we will often begin to develop issues, challenges. And they start out as weeds, as we've talked about in the past, and they evolve into a little bit bigger plant, and then to bigger and bigger until it turns into something that is very hard to manage. And that's when, what we call the disease state. And, it is fascinating that it's in our control often. But are we being trained to observe the signs? And I don't think people are. And so oftentimes we just write off a headache as just a headache, and because there's this magic headache medicine we can take as a remedy for it, and we have to recognize the source and the cause of the headaches. And I think that if people sit back and just keep letting symptoms come on them, and they accept those symptoms because they can quickly, easily manage the symptom, that's almost like, all you're doing is grooming your garden, but you're grooming the garden of disease, not eradicating the garden of health, of disease, and then making sure you're maintaining the garden of true health, which is all the vibrance that we need our cells to be emitting. And I think that's what puts people into one of the things that puts people into that state of accelerated aging is neglect, and neglect voluntarily or involuntarily. I mean, how many people do you know that just choose to not walk past the donut, right? They choose to let their car magically drive into the fast food lane and get whatever it is they're getting, burger, fries, and a shake.
I thought you were going to say maybe not change the oil or rotate the tires or those different things.
No, they seem to be, they'll seem to do some of those things, but man, it seems like but the things that they really need to be paying attention to, I think because to your point, that's actually a good analogy to think there's things that we can do on a monthly or every quarter or every 6 months form of maintenance, and it seems like those things we'll do, but we don't necessarily do the daily things, the weekly things, those things that kind of add up to the big quarter.
Yeah, cleaning out the car with trash.
It was on my chore list this morning.
Right.
I mean, that's a very easy thing to do, but it's a very easy thing not to do.
Yeah, it's like I got this little bag. I had a little breakfast or whatever, and I set it in there. After a week, 2 weeks, then you got a pile of trash in there that you could have just, daily maintenance.
And then you always knock it out whenever your father-in-law jumps in the car with you. And you're
right.
Like, yeah, don't worry about that. Dad, it's okay.
Let me just,
I'm really just messy. I'm sorry. What I mean? But is our body and our health in a state of mess? Are you dealing with symptom patterns that you weren't genetically born with? I like that thought. I'm not, genetically born with these diseases, these conditions, these diagnoses, these symptoms, but yet I've developed them over time, and what am I doing about them? And the modern medicine today oftentimes is just giving people the rhyme and the reason that, hey, you're getting older, stuff like this just happens. And to their point, I think that those things just happen because we're not eliminating well. One of my buddies was at a seminar this weekend, and he was telling me about what he learned, and he was telling me, that the food is what is driving toxicity. The toxicity is what's creating the inflammation, the irritation. The irritation and inflammation is what is leading to, these conditions that do not get fixed, and then they come in manifesting with Alzheimer's. That his program was kind of built around that. We went to a seminar this weekend, and one of the things that he said, it's not that there are so many autoimmune diseases. Many people, look at autoimmune disease for everything today, like autoimmune. And he says it's that there's so many diseases. It's that so many diseases reach the autoimmune phase, meaning it's a progression. It is a neglect or a lack of dealing with a situation, and it develops into something more worse, and as opposed to more better. We want health and vitality to reign. We want to live long and prosperous, so says Spock. We want to be fully functional in spirit, mind, and body, so says Chapa. That's what we're after, and the way you do that is you recognize the signs. So, here we go. Let's just talk about a couple of these things, because often you could be even diagnosed with a condition and still be having these symptoms that are constantly wrecking your health, but you don't know which, squirrel to chase. You're almost chasing your own tail. And so we're looking at reading the signs. What is your body telling you, and how can you fix it? So, unfortunately, I couldn't bring a bunch of supplements into the to the room today, because there could be potentially a whole slew of ideas as we go through some of these topics. So let's just look at a couple of them. We look at like leg cramps, leg and calf cramps, foot cramps. How many people suffering out there today have leg and calf cramps? And do you know that is something that you can address? Like, you are in control. How many times do you crawl in bed? You're fine all day long. And then, but you after your bath and after whatever it is your morning, your evening routine is, you crawl in bed, and then all of a sudden you feel this agitation and ache in your calf muscles and your feet, and you go, man, I'm not gonna be able to sleep with that. And what is it? Why all of a sudden am I crawling in bed when I should be ready for sleep? I've been tired all day, the person might say. And yet now I'm getting in bed and my legs are agitated to the point for which, my mind is just worried about my legs. And that is a sign that there is nutritional deficiencies. And so what is it? Well, that one's an easy one. That's calcium and magnesium. First, foremost, easiest thing you can do is do a teaspoon of what we call calcium magnesium powder. We use a calcium lactate, magnesium lactate substance that helps to quickly be absorbed into the tissues, one chemical reaction away from usability. You see, calcium and magnesium aren't found in nature by themselves, but yet they are present in a bound form, and then your body cleaves the part that makes it unusable into something usable because of good digestion and good absorption, and then your body is able to quickly uptake that nutrient, deliver it to the tissues in need, and in this case, the calf muscles, the feet muscles, that agitation. I'm almost grabbing my own calves thinking, that has happened to me, I don't know why you like that. And we can literally see a resolution of that symptom inside of like 7 or 8 minutes. It's fascinating. And if that is you, recognize that means your immune system. That's the progression. It's not just the cramp that you have to worry about. Yes, I've seen videos of people that at first, you can even YouTube this, it's quite comical to watch people suffering with like Charlie horses and cramps, because their bodies go into complete involuntary fight or flight, like help me mode, and it's funny at first, but after a couple minutes of watching person after person after person suffer, knowing that I have an answer, you actually kind of start having pity and going, oh, that poor soul, and you just go, gosh, if they only knew. If someone was there to tell them that they don't have to live like that. I had this, one patient one time, develop a lockjaw where the jaw wouldn't close. And it's because they were so deficient that their muscles went into a spasm, and it changed the way they couldn't even close their mouth for like 10, 15, 20 minutes. Like, how do you get so deficient? It could be chemicals, it could be metals, it could be, some processed food, it could be an overtaxed immune system. I mean, there's a number of ways that continually rob the body of key nutrients that cause something as simple as a Charlie horse or a cramp, but then it evolves into, hey, why am I getting sick every time the wind changes? Why am I sick every month? Why am I dealing with this, that, and the other? And that's something that we want to look at. Remember, it's not that there's so many diseases out there. It's why are there so many progressive symptom patterns untreated, unworked with, and managed and cleaned out that develop into disease states. That's what, my seminar was sharing. I already know the food is a problem, but how am I going to work around the food as a problem? I'm going to make sure I supplement well. As my kids were going out the door this morning for school, everybody got some brain food. Everybody got some endocrine food. Everybody got some basic nutrients, B vitamins and catalin, 200 phytonutrients and phytochemicals packed in a powder or packed in a tablet. And everybody's, sucking down their stuff as they walk out the door. And I go, hey, what if you're only able to get it into your kid twice a week? I try to put myself in people's, place, and it's go, what if this is all I could do? Well, I'm doing more if I'm doing all I can do. Even if it's not every day, it's better than nothing, right? And so I'm trying to keep the body from slipping down that slippery slope into a place where the disease or diagnosis or the condition or the issue is pretty severe. Like, could you imagine not being able to close your jaw? Could you imagine, falling to the ground in agony as you're grabbing hold of your muscles in your lower leg, or your back spasm in such a way that it just brings you to the floor? I mean, I can just see the grimace on the people's face as those muscles are binding up. And that's not a pleasant feeling. Hey, a little bit of calcium, magnesium could take you a long way. And so what about irritable or excessive thinking? What? Whoa. How many people are running around town with that?
Thinking too much?
Well, yeah, their mind just races with ideas or thoughts or worry or anxiety or anxiousness.
Right.
It's just like information overloads coming at you so fast, and you're like, and it's like you're looking almost at the different things in your head. It's coming at you so quickly. And then, of course, that leaves you feeling irritated, because now anybody that tries to talk to you, now you're hearing words and seeing crazy imagery coming at you wicked fast.
That happens sometimes. I think even as soon as yesterday, trying to help my son with homework. There was something I was doing before. My wife asked me to do something. One of the other kids is kind of yelling. I'm like, someone turn down, the Paw Patrol, like this and this. I'm trying to focus on this multiplication, problem, and I feel that a little bit.
Yeah, and that's just bandwidth, right? I mean, that is a real issue, and yes, having multiple output input things, you have to manage that. But what if it's just reeling around in your head?
Right.
Nobody can see it. The Alexa's not on, the TV's not on, but yet you've got a bazillion things coming at you that you either got to do, handle, fix, go. I mean, the to-do list, that to-do list plus that to-do list plus that to-do list leads to, okay, I need therapy. You know what I mean? That is also basically the brain is overloaded because it doesn't have enough B vitamins. And we need fat-soluble B vitamins in this case. And we use a product in our office called Cataplex G that will help calm the mind and improve blood flow to the brain, improve oxygen to the brain, improve nutrient delivery to the brain. And we love this product because then we'll put in something called Mintran and ribonucleic acid. We'll literally feed the nucleus of the cells and in your brain in order to get those transcription factors and that DNA strands and those all those organelles inside of the cells to begin to work like God designed them to. And what happens is your brain literally doesn't slow down. It organizes the information in a way that you can process it in a functional managerial way. Like your brain cortex comes into alignment with, okay, I'm going to put this one on this side, this one on this side. Oh, you know what? You need to go get a pen and paper. Now you need to start writing down all your thoughts. Then we need to just organize those thoughts. Then we're going to put this. And then all of a sudden your mind is working and clear and focused. And that excessive thinking or that irritability because you can't think about all that at once begins to be relieved like a pressure valve on a steam pot. And that is a good feeling, you know. Why is it a good feeling? Well, man, you know that dinner's ready when you hear that thing going pss, 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 and it gets closer and closer and closer to not making that sound. You know that it's, you know, things are settling. But it doesn't mean that, you know, that you're not working. Your brain is still working even more. It's just working more efficiently. And all that information coming at you at symptom, you know, overload. And so when people come in and they tell us that they have racing thoughts all day long and their bandwidth is limited, we know we've got to get in there and we've got to improve their vascularity. That's blood flow through Cataplex G B vitamins, calming B vitamins, fat-soluble B vitamins. We come in with the something called Mintran to slow down the brain's activity. It's like God's tranquilizer so that it can slow down the process enough so that your brain can think again and keep you in the thinking game. Because when that irritability starts, that anxiousness starts, it's because you actually are slipping down into your primal brain, your brainstem, and you're not thinking anymore, you're reacting. That's a bad place. And then we put the ribonucleic acid because that improves the crispness of the firing capacity of the brain synapse, that the communication line from point A to point B. And that's a really cool tool to have in your tool bag as a trio of support. So I'm going to be throwing a lot of ideas around today, you know, but the idea is that we can be a resource to help you navigate some of these challenges that you're probably either dealing with yourself or a family friend or a loved one is dealing with. And man, this is something that is we can all, really relate to. And so we're just excited, to continue to go down this road and teach people that anything that your body can develop, Gardy,
it can undevelop.
It can undevelop. That's right, man. And that makes me excited to know that I don't have to live like this day in and day out. All you have to be willing to do is start taking the necessary steps to replete the body of the nutrient deficiencies that you have. And you go, well, I don't know what those are. Well, that's why you give us a call, 281-554-8600. Let us help you and serve you to the best we can and help you figure out a way to organize your day doing at least 1 degree of change. You know, whether we had like Al come in yesterday, hey, just track a food log. I need to see everything that you eat, like even for 3 days, because it helps me. I had another lady do the same thing, and she was a massage therapist, and I was just, I was expecting, I don't know what I was expecting. I know what I was expecting, but I didn't see what I expected. I was a little shocked. I saw diet products. I saw, chocolate all over her chart. I saw processed food all over her chart. I saw alcohol all over her chart. And I was like, whew, we got a work cut out for us here, because all those things drive toxicity, drive inflammation, drive deficiency. Because every deficiency you have is because there's toxins that are taking up the space for which your nutrients have to manage. So if I need my body to perform well on a test in school, if I'm a student, or perform well on the radio like I'm doing now, or perform well at a business meeting in order to promote my business or to lead the next charge in the organization at your day job, guess what? If you've got minerals that are having to deal with toxins and have to deal with the immune challenges and have to deal with the bad meal you ate last night, you're not supplementing, your chances of running out of candle wick is pretty high. You're going to run out, and you're human. I'm sorry to say, I'm sorry to admit, I'm human. You're human. None of us are perfect, and as seasons of stress come upon us, and we have to deal with those stresses in the moment. And there's seasons where we're able to kind of have a little ease. And I always find that interesting. God always knows what we can handle and gives us a little break here and there in order to manage the crazy that does seem to happen in a whirlwind of stress. And so keep it on. Let's look at some more. How about, the ladies are going to really like this one. Loss of the outer hair eyebrow. If you're the outside third of your eyebrows are thinning, withering away, dissipating, going away, and you haven't gone and plucked those out yourself and accidentally did too much, heaven forbid, or somebody played some sort of practical joke on you and you accidentally
shaved them or something.
Yep,
yeah.
That would be terrible. We've seen it, right? And you sit back and go, why would the lateral thirds or the outside third of the eyebrows begin to fade? And it is a thyroid sign or symptom. It is a thyroid deficiency. It is that the thyroid is not able to keep up with its daily demand and workload, and it's changing how the body presents, how it holds on to hair. It's not just, and typically when they lose the lateral third, they're not just losing the lateral third of their eyebrows, they're also seeing their fingernails begin to get brittle, they're seeing their hair begin brittle, cracking, not growing or falling out and getting thin. And these are all, again, signs that there's a nutrient deficiency. And when there's a sluggish thyroid, we know that potentially there's a sluggish and overworked liver. So what are we going to do to fix that? We're going to help the body, and this is where we have to be a little bit, because now we're branching out from, all right, well, how do we make the thyroid work better so that the system can, doesn't give us these check engine lights? We fix and work on the liver. Well, what are we going to do there? We're going to improve liver output. So maybe we do some bile salts. We use a product called Colacol for that. We use beta food, betaine, which is beet leaf juice, and beets in order to help the liver increase functionality. And, everybody knows I'm a big detox guy, but I'm not even talking about detox. I'm just simply talking about improving function of the methyl donor groups that help the liver produce enzymes, that help the liver produce bile so that you break down fats, carbs more effectively, and you're able to absorb those nutrients more effectively. It produces, the support that helps the bowels have the tools to detox itself so that it's not overworked and overloaded. And then what happens is when the liver gets bogged down, it sends a message to that thyroid, says, hey, dude, I can't keep up with the day's workload, and it slows down. And so now what does it do? Instead of ramping up its processes of metabolism, chemical reactions all throughout the body, it slows down and begins to store toxins in our hair tissue. Well, so essentially your hair is a glorified trash can all over your body. So you have, if you have facial hair, you have, you have trash on your face. Isn't that kind of dirty? If you have hair on your head, you have trash on your head. And the same with the eyebrows. And your body goes, well, I don't need that trash. I'm going to go ahead and let it go. And your body will release the toxins that way. And so we want to improve the liver's efficiency in order to maximize the thyroid. Now we might come directly in and give the thyroid some food, iodine. Predominantly the thyroid functions and works off of iodine molecules, not radioactive iodine. We want real iodine, and helps and you might be somebody that says, oh, I'm allergic to iodine, but yet your thyroid still functions, therefore you have quite a bit of iodine still present. And you have to leverage iodine effectively. It always comes down to the use and utilization. I can eat the best food on the planet, never absorb it, never get any benefit from it. And so I want to make certain that, if you have this symptom of this then or other hair issues, it very well could be something that is related to the thyroid not performing well. But I oftentimes, in the conversation of the thyroid, find in practice for 17 years, man, I've seen this, I don't see the thyroid being the problem per se. The thyroid is oftentimes bullied by something else: a slow liver, toxicity, metals, chemicals from teeth, and from our teeth having fillings, root canals, or whatever else we do to that tissue. It's so close to where we have this outgassing of chemicals from our teeth. It goes right to the thyroid and poisons it. Lotions and creams, hair gels, dyes, stuff that we do to our head, the makeups and the females, which I think is predominantly one of the big reasons why women have a lot of thyroid challenges, seemingly more than men, because they're constantly putting on these substances on their face that we call makeup, but yet has a lot of toxicity and compounds that are not something that you can eat or digest, but yet your skin is forced to do so, and it creates a burden, an inflammatory response. And your body then will have to figure out, how am I going to manage this? It stores it in the hair if it can't get rid of it, and then sooner or later that's going to be released out. Or your body starts employing, and this is where things get interesting, is the body will employ bugs, yeast, for example, to come in and help to chelate or store the metals and the chemicals and the toxins that your body can't deal with. And if left unchecked, the body will the yeast molecules will begin to turn into myosyl hyphae, which is a very toxic form of yeast. It's like a mothership of yeast. It's like you're so overloaded with this yeast now. It's more than just taxing you. Now it's suffocating you. And in that suffocation, your body will release a substance that we've all heard of, another B vitamin called biotin, and biotin will be thrown at the myosyl hyphae conversion to block it, and so it's a protection. But in that protecting your body from yeast turning into this more aggressive form of nutrient depleter, your biotin levels go down, and what do we know about hair? You've got to have biotin, and so you're losing biotin in order to basically self-preserve or protect you, and yet the hair now suffers, and now you're losing hair, and there's another reason that people lose the hair.
So here was a question that came up when you were talking about the thyroid. This is from Susan. She said, "What if you no longer have a thyroid?"
Yeah, so they've already gone down the reacted or the radioactive iodine treatment process and surgically remove the thyroid, and then they're probably permanently put on a thyroid medication, odds are, and because you have to have a thyroid and thyroid hormone to run processes in the body. And so I'm assuming the question is there life after a thyroid removal? 100%. I have multiple patients today that have had thyroids removed still, and for years now we have been helping them without medication keep their numbers in check. How's that possible? Well, number one is that it is more or less impossible to get every aspect of the thyroid out. So she still has some kind of communication there, and therefore we just have to figure out what she has to work with, and that is just getting in the trenches with the person and figuring out what their body can do, can't do, and it might be that they have to stay on the medication, but what else can we do to enhance everybody around the weak link in the chain in order to maximize efficiency in a anatomically challenged situation, a removal of sorts, or a killing of the thyroid in a sorts of some of the treatments. And so there's a history there. The better question would be, what led to it for which you needed to have the thyroid removed, and was that addressed? You see what I'm saying? Because, again, it's not so much that you had a thyroid disease that was left to only needing a surgery or a radioactive iodine treatment to kill it. Again, the thyroid is always bullied. And then when it's bullied, it's like that little kid that's telling the truth, but nobody believes him. No, the thyroid being removed, that's got its own layer of complications, but yet workable. That underlying buildup that created the thyroid deficiency or challenge or disease in the first place, that led to the new symptoms that you're dealing with. And that's something that I always would be challenging is, did they do their due diligence and make sure that at least if they took the thyroid out, because that's what they believed was the only treatment protocol, can we then get in that boat and fix the underlying issue so that you don't lose something else? And so that's a great question, and hope that answers it somewhat. I mean, it's not obviously. I don't know the full question that we're really asking, but is there life after thyroid removal? Yes, of course. Is there consequences for thyroid removal? Unfortunately, yes. But don't let that stop you from still looking at alternative measures to live better, be better, and stay better. You just got to outperform the deficiency. Again, we got to make sure those vitamins, minerals, essential fats are in check. We got to make sure the endocrine system is working with the nervous system. There are questions we want to ask you. There's a story we need to hear in order to help you figure out what you can do and to make it to maximize your situation. So anybody that has lost an organ, whether it's a gallbladder, whether it's a thyroid, whether it's a part of your intestines, all of that is a part of listening to the story, recognizing, hey, this is what's already done. You can't cry over spilled milk, but let's move forward.
Here's another comment. This is interesting. Holly said that her daughter was born without a thyroid. It's pretty interesting. We know anything that your body can develop, it can undevelop, but then there are cases where some people are just born with unique circumstances.
Yeah, that's right. And yet here she is, and she is still functioning. And again, it would be now, okay, in this case, how are we going to navigate that? How are we going to work with that situation? And so, I don't know yet. I haven't got my hands, nitty gritty into the end solution there. But I do know this is that if she's still present, her body is still leveraging and utilizing thyroid hormone somehow. And so that might be our approach is if they're going to medically treat it with thyroid hormone, we want to maximize the receptors on all the cells to take up the thyroid hormone, convert it into an active hormone to create metabolic change in the cells. That's something that we can do. And that's something that's really cool. And so you see what I'm saying? It's like there's always an answer to the challenge. And a lot of the things that I'm talking about are not this, where this is like born this way. Look, I get it. But most of the people that are suffering in the world today are suffering of things that they developed, not the things that they were born with. But even in this case, I bet you we'll find the answer in time. After we've asked questions, after we've run some tests, after we evaluate the treatment plan, observe the treatment plan's progress, and we start seeing the changes, because those changes are going to dictate our effectiveness, and that's cool. So thank you. That's a excellent question and a rare one. Most people do not have that one as a top of the list. And so, okay, what about tightness in the upper right shoulder? What we call the trapezius muscle, and you're like always like tension on that right side, and it just kind of reaches up and grips into the back of the neck, and you're thinking to yourself, oof, this is ruthless, man. Like, how am I going to get through the day? I kind of feel like my head's turning to the right. It's pulling so hard. And we've got to make sure that we manage this. How are we going to manage this one? And oftentimes, it's a congested lymph system that is bogging down and clogging up the liver and gallbladder. And we see this quite a bit. The body's lymph system moves left to right, back to front, top to bottom, down towards the liver. And so we want to improve the liver and gallbladder, and many times the connection between the shoulder and the liver are the muscles therein, and all the acupuncture meridians and the organ reflexes, they reflex to certain circuits in the body. It's just like a circuit breaker on your house. You flip, one of the switches, typically it just turns off a section of the lights in the house, but it doesn't turn off all aspects of the house. And so that circuit that is connected to the gallbladder and to the right shoulder trapezius area are are in the same line series, and so you'll get a lot of tension and buildup up there. And if that is the case, how many frozen shoulders are out there that were surgically, impressed upon, even with small tears, which many people have, or different bursa issues, which many people have, due to overuse, mistraining, lack of function, lack of movement, and then all of a sudden that wasn't the cause. That was just a symptom of toxicity, or that was a symptom of lifestyle, and we could have fixed it by just doing a gallbladder flush. We could have fixed it by cleaning out one of the organ systems in the body. Maybe we didn't only have to do a full-out gallbladder flush. Maybe we could just put in anti-inflammatory herbs like boswellia or turmeric. Maybe we could put that same AF beta food and beta food, high-level concentrated beets and beet leaf juice into the tissues so that the gallbladder begins to function better. What if we put straight bile salts in there and improve the body's ability to manage fats? So like if a patient, they go, I don't have shoulder pain, but every time I eat an avocado, or every time I eat something like buttery, or anything I eat something oily, or every time, something like that high fat causes a pain, a headache, a tension, some sort of ailment in the shoulder, and you start going, could that be what it is? You're mismanaging fats, and your body could be giving you symptom patterns of pain in some other area of the body that's correlating and telling you that you have a deficiency in the in fat metabolism. And we can address and work and deal with that one-on-one too, and help a person break down those fats better through better nutrient management. So we use a product called Colacol, for example, which is basically ox bile. It's like it's the bile salts that are necessary for breaking down fats, and then we are constantly trying to push the gallbladder and liver to emulsify, expel, get rid of whatever block is in there that's preventing good healthy flow into the intestine. And I've even sometimes fixed gallbladder issues simply by cleaning up the diet, not necessarily putting somebody on a fat-free diet, but putting them on the right fat diet. So like if the omega-3 to omega-6 ratio is off, and say, for example, the average American right now is, say, 18 to 20 to 1 omega-6 to omega-3s, they're prone to inflammation. Their body is already irritable. They're already so close to that threshold of living in symptom land that the weather change throws them off. And so we have to address, like listening to the body's cry for help, and say, all right, well, that tension that you're having is one of the symptoms that's going to go away when we know that the liver and the gallbladder is cleaned out and resolved. That's a pretty neat thing, I think, to see that the body, manifests pain symptoms whenever we're dealing with a congested organ. And so you've got to appreciate that there are multiple fuses in your breaker box, and they're connected to different things. So you've got to talk to somebody that has some idea of what the body's trying to say. So what about nightmares? Oh, so this isn't just for kids. The boogeyman not just living under the kid's bed, but sometimes it happens to us as adults. We have wicked, wild, bizarre, funky, exotic dreams. How many people are walking around with that? Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to be disturbed by in their slumber when we're supposed to be at peace and rest. And so we look at nightmares and we go, this could be simply a B vitamin deficiency that's causing the liver to not be able to detox effectively. There's multiple B vitamins involved, but a common one is B3. And we can address that. We can help that process. We can come in and look at the functionality of what's going on in the liver. Is there a pathogen messing up the liver? Again, the liver's involved in quite a few things. I'll do another talk and just kind of show people signs and symptoms in and around the feet. I don't think we'll get to it today, but that are indicators of liver stress and liver congestion and liver deficiency and liver toxicity. I mean, there's so many things about the liver we got to manage. But nightmares could be a parasite issue. I mean, I've helped a lot of people with small blood flukes, liver flukes that were actually also in the brain. And so these bugs can live in certain areas of our body. I know that might disgust some of us, but man, it doesn't. It kind of makes it reasonable to have a nightmare if there is something gnawing away at one of your lobes, and that would be a little bit irritating. I don't know that I want to be eaten alive, but in some respects that's kind of what bugs do. And when they get out of hand and they're not subdued, remember the Bible says we're to subdue the creepy crawly things. We are to subdue the creepy crawly things, even the little bugs. And those little bugs we can't see, but thank God our body can see. Our body has resources. Our body has tools in order to go after these bugs. But do you have the resources to activate or call to action your system to go get them? That's where the deficiency comes in. And so we come in with B vitamins to improve liver detox. We come in with antimicrobial pathogenic work where we can help clean out the liver and help improve its function so that the efficiency of that liver rises and rises quickly. And you can oftentimes, within a month's time, stop years of suffering and dealing with nightmares or wicked, wild, bizarre, funky, exotic dreams. And we will then obviously simultaneously, from the conversation in the beginning of the show where we talked about those mineral deficiencies that are getting tied up, dealing with pathogens or dealing with chemicals or metals, then they'll be freed up to help rest the mind and heal and regenerate. And all of a sudden you're getting into deeper sleep states. So now you're not watching, the bugs eat your brain. You're sleeping and you're resting and you're regenerating. Your brain is taking a bath and getting cleaned up. And we're not allowing, I always look at a cruise ship. A cruise ship never stops when it's in port. I mean, when it's working on sea, and it's never at rest when it's on port. You've always got people doing outside maintenance. They're hanging off the side of the boat, painting this, that, and the other. They're doing the maintenances on the things of the boat for which they can only do when they're in port. But that boat is constantly alive and working, and things are happening in order to make sure that when they go back out, they're more successful in coming back in. That's always a good thing. Right? And so we don't want to have these symptoms, and symptoms like nightmares is something we can definitely help you with. So pretty cool, right? I mean, all these like little things that your body is constantly going through day in and day out, but are you paying attention? And so let's see, let's figure this out. What about cravings for salty chips? Or salty stuff. It doesn't even have to be salty chips, just salty things. And you're always, feeling like you just need to add more salt to things. This is an electrolyte glitch. I mean, we live in a culture today where we are deathly afraid of salt, so a lot of people are on a low-salt diet, and rightfully so. If you're eating accessible only to white table salt at the table at your local diner that is one of your faves, or you have those little salt packets that they give you in the fast food deal that you can add a little extra, teaspoon or so of salt garbage.
French fries need more,
yeah,
right?
Of course. The problem with those is that is just a basically over-processed, denatured, re-chemicalized substance that is not what God intended to call salt. When he said that we are salt and light, I've read enough about salt, and that in the old ancient days, salt was treasured. They found a salt mine, they guarded it with their life. That's why the old saying comes from, I hope that man's worth his salt. They would pay Roman soldiers in salt. Salt is where we get the word salary from, interestingly. And so salt is actually very life-giving and life-altering in a powerful way. And yet, when we don't get enough of the salts, we can create deficiency. So on blood tests, for example, we have found there's a range, 145 down to 138 is typically the medical pathological range. I've found that, functionally, a lot of us believe that you need to be between 141 and 145. You need to have fresh, plump, wonderful cellular grapes of efficiency. If you've got pruny grapes for cellular efficiency versus plump grapes, which ones do you think are going to outperform the other?
I think the plump grapes.
Yeah, everybody loves plump, chomping into some plump, juicy grapes, right? Because they're full of water, they're full of richness, they just taste better, they're more appealing to the eye. Well, the cells are the same. You want them appealing to the eye. You want them efficient. You want them doing everything they're supposed to do, so that they're doing things in the background, so that you don't have to be worried about detox happening or regeneration happening or synaptic activity for supernatural recall happening. We don't want to wonder. Is that word going to come to my mind? Or that name of somebody that you're talking to, and it does happen to me too. It's a muscle somewhat that we have to develop on memorizing people's names. But I'm always fascinated that just a little practice, often you can start really getting good at recalling people's names. But that's how efficient that have we built the muscle to recall. But we don't have trash clogging the lines where the body's waiting and waiting and waiting at the bus stop, and the bus never shows up, and you're just like, hey, I'm sorry, what's your name again? It's driving me nuts. I've seen you before. I know you really clear well. I mean, heck, we're neighbors, but I just can't remember your name. That's not good.
Yeah.
But that salty craving, if you're having that, that's an indication that you very well may need some good sea salt. As long as it's not from Pakistan, Poland, Germany, we those are not the best sources of salts. We've found that we use a salt in our office from Hawaii and Australia, sun-dried. I like sun, as I've kind of read and worked through it. I've seen benefits to both cave salts and sun-dried salts, but I like sunny things. I like the pleasantness of what grows in the sun versus the weirdness of creepiness of what grows in caves. And so I'd like to visit a salt mine and see like what it feels like. I've heard that the energy is very healing and very life-giving. But if I'm going to consume a salt, I want a sun-dried salt that I know has been taken time to be extrapolated out and the conversions to happen to maximize the 80-plus trace elements that we know are in a granule of salt.
Whenever you share this information with people for the first time, are they kind of as amazed as I am that there are multiple kinds of salt, what you get, on the table, the shaker, that's not the best? Salt is salt.
Yes, they are. And frankly, I am too. I try to always be wowed by the simplicity of life. Is it as simple as a B vitamin deficiency? I sat in a seminar this weekend, and the gentleman proceeded for like 4 hours to show us, young people, 30 and under, from post-COVID to pre-COVID to, that just dropped dead of heart attacks, and they would diagnose them with having an enlarged heart, and which just means a flaccid heart, a weak heart that was pulling the valves out of alignment and disrupting the way the blood was flowing into the body. And these were athletes, a lot of them, and they would just die right on the court, right on the field, right while they're doing a kick, right in a warm up, and after a game-winning shot. And it was like the adrenaline of winning was the straw that broke the camel's back. How, crappy is that? Right in his prime, 18 years old, boom, dead. And it was all, and he kept coming back to the power of looking at B vitamins, as we talked about with the liver. Some of these B vitamins, specifically B4, BIOS, it means life-giving, is one of these B vitamins that helps give life and electrical potency to the heart's ability to function at its best. And yes, I sit back and go, all right, Lord, help me always remember to keep it simple, like to not make it hard. I was talking to a lady yesterday. She's diabetic, and she has this very thing, this salty craving, and it's adrenal. She's stressed out of her mind. And so for her, not just salt, but it's the adrenal glands are also weak, and that's creating an electrolyte imbalance in how her minerals are regulated. There's a substance called the mineral corticoids, and it regulates mineral exchange in the body. And so that's all minerals have to go through an evaluation and make sure that they're ready to go out and help the tissues do their job. And I hear all that crazy science, and I listen to all the crazy pathways in the brain, and I sit back and go, people don't really care about that. They want to just know that, do I know what they can do to help them? And so I want to find something that is simple, right? It's always simple. It's just never easy because, again, you have to do it. So I was telling this patient, I was like, look, if you would you consider, I didn't say if you would or could you? I said, would you consider, just doing Omega Force, which is basically your Omega 3, 6, and 9 balance, and Cataplex B Core, and Mineral Force as your triad of health? I mean, I get it. You don't like pills, okay? And it's amazing to me that when I was watching at this seminar, the barbaric nature of Western medicine, some of the tactics that we go through. 3 doctors standing over a body that's got the chest spread wide open and blood all over their aprons, because it's a messy job. And I'm thinking, that looks very barbaric. Somebody either voluntarily or somehow got themselves in that position where now their chest is split open and they're looking at what to do with their heart. And I'll be honest with you, as smart as these docs are, and as much as I appreciate the fact that they understand all the workings of the heart, they don't understand everything. Some of it is a little bit of a practice, I hate to say. And I don't know that that's the way I want to practice, especially knowing that in most, if not all those cases, nutritional deficiencies was not evaluated. We didn't do what we do in our office and looking at a heart sound recorder in order to see how efficient the valves are. We didn't do a simple test to evaluate the adrenal glands to see and ask them the question, do you crave salt? And make sure that salt is the number one thing on their list. And interestingly, because the lady was like, no, don't really want to do that. So she's unwilling to do this, but this may happen. She's diabetic. She might lose a foot one day because of diabetic neuropathy. You know what I mean? Like, this is real stuff, folks. Like we're unwilling to take a vitamin, but when it comes down to it, yeah, I guess I got to go do that, foot amputation. Come on, guys. Like, I mean, and we laugh, right? Because it sounds just dumb. Like, why would you do that? But it's because of the mismanagement of time. We're not being proactive in serving our body and giving our body the basics of life. And I always want to try to keep things simple. And then when I looked at her chart, I went back and I go, you know what the number one thing on her list was? The number one thing, it was salt. I was giving her salt, and she won't even take the salt. And I was like, well, I have to be okay as a clinician. I know I'm not her friend. I'm her expert advisor. It's not my job to do it for her. It's my job to educate her on doing the work. And I try to make programs as simple as possible, but it's still, we make a ton of excuses on why we won't right up until all things bad happen, and then we're willing to do everything. It's harder to clear a pasture full of disease than it is to take care of the weeds when they're small, right? And I mean, even then it's pesky and time consuming and a little bit cumbersome, but it's easier when they're weeds than whenever it's a disease state. And we don't want people slipping off down that slippery slope because it's just unnecessary because there's so many things that we can do to serve a body. So, this is just an idea of some things to be mindful of, that whatever the symptoms you're dealing with are, there's a reason, there's a rhyme and reason for why it's happening. And we'll go into more, of this next time because there's definitely still other ideas that I want to talk to. But I just want to take the next few minutes as we are kind of wrapping up today, unless there's some questions,
Not right now.
And if there, a reminder, guys, that on the show live, you are always welcome to field me questions and see how I do. I want to give you guys what you want and what you're here for, and I believe that ultimately, if you're getting what your interests are, the questions you have are oftentimes the questions I try to talk to, like these nutrient deficiencies. What do these things mean? But oftentimes it's a question that somebody else in your family, friend circle, social circle, church circle is dealing with. So who do you know that's dealing with leg cramps, calf cramps? Who do you know that's irritable and anxious in their thoughts and racing thoughts? Who do you know that has this eyebrow issue or tightness in their right shoulder or dealing with nightmares or craving salts and not knowing, that's not a normal thing? I take for granted that people don't know this stuff, right? Because I do it every day. It's my life. It's what I'm into. But here's what I do know. Too many high-powered executive, wonderful influencers in the church, wonderful influencers in life that are not taking care of their body, and whether through voluntary neglect, cockiness, that, they're invincible. Reminder, everybody's invincible right up until they're not. I mean, sorry to say, right. You're gonna come to the realization, as we all do, and my mission is to see people wake up to the idea that they're more in control of their health than they're giving themselves credit for. Don't let age be the reason you develop a disease, because oftentimes I've got too many 50, 60, 70, 80-year-old people that we have taken out of drug care and into wellness care, and given them something to participate in serving their bodies better. It is so fun to see the miracles, and so I don't take it for granted. I'm always reminded. I'm constantly praying, Lord, keep me tender to the small miracles. I love that song, miracles, small miracles, and it makes me happy. And I got one more cool miracle. We have our Wellabration this Saturday. It's a miracle that we finally made it to the new building. We've been there about 2.5 months, almost 3 months, I think. And it's been an absolute wonder and a joy, and I enjoy it a lot up there. And this weekend, 1 to 3, Saturday, if you can make it, please be there. You will love it. We're raffling off prizes galore. We've got we're calling it a no cake walk, because it kind of like bringing in the harvest kind of fall-ish era. But we're, instead of raffling off cakes on a cakewalk, we're going to be raffling off services and products and giveaways of stuff that you can just find fun in. It's a fun experience to come and celebrate with us at the Living Wellabration Saturday 1 to 3. And we're going to just have a good time showcasing what God has done in our lives at Living Well. And we're excited to tell you about nutrition, tell you about chiropractic, tell you about the hydromassage beds, tell you about the infrared saunas, the full spectrum infrared saunas, the detox foot bath upgrades, and the event center that we have access to as a tool to just be a beacon of light for people that have been in the past. So if you've been to our office in the past and you haven't been in a while and you're ready to come back, the door's open. If you're here present with us now, come celebrate, be a part of the team that you are a part of. And the tribe, we're big tribe people. We love the idea of culture, and we want you to know that you're a part of that culture. Without you guys, we got nothing. And we're thankful that you guys are part of the world with us. And we're excited about, the people that haven't made it to our office yet. We always pray for you. We pray for all of you that we're always, coming to grips that it's in our control more often than not. And it's and prayerfully, we want to get in the boat with you and help you find an answer, solution to why your body's breaking down and what you can do to serve it better. At Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, we're always on your side. We want to help you figure out how to make this work for you. Even when it seems hard, even when it's overwhelming, even when you're unwilling, there's always those moments. We're going to find what you're willing to do and then encourage you to get after it and get that done. And so it's really a delight and a joy to come alongside patients day in and day out. As a clinical team, we rally every week to talk about cases and figure out how we can better serve the people that are choosing wellness, that are choosing Living Well to be their number one health and wellness resource. So it's just going to be a great weekend. And so those are my prayer warrior. Just make sure we pray that the no rain from 1 to 3 on Saturday, because we're going to have music. We're going to have some, I think it's even I was told some light, snacks, and but more importantly, just an opportunity to gather together, celebrate what God's done in the Living Welibration this Saturday, 1 to 3. So come check us out and give us a call, 281-554-8600, and we will check you guys every week and next week on the Living Well Show.
It's KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM.